everyone, Raelan here. I have another really incredible interview for you today. I'm really excited. I'm here with Veronica Morel. She has had such a long and trying journey with ME/CFS. She lived with severe ME/CFS. And like many of us, really struggled to find her way out of it, but eventually did fully recover. And she has now been symptom-free for almost 8 years, which is so wonderful to hear. So thank you so much, Veronica, for taking the time to chat on my channel today.
Thank you, Raelan, and I'm so happy to be here, and I can't wait to have this conversation with you. And I'm also very grateful for all the work you do. And as I mentioned before, it would have been so amazing if I could have found a channel like yours when I was first diagnosed. I think you're doing an amazing job. Thank you.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see there's so many people out there, like myself now, that are sharing this type of information and type of stories. And we were talking a bit before, how in the dark you and I felt when we were trying to go through this and holding on to that hope of full recovery when we didn't even have examples to show us that it was possible. And these stories, they do a lot. I think they can do a lot for people. They can bring hope and they can bring ideas for people and insights into their own recovery. Not that any of this is medical advice. You figure out what's best for you, people watching. But yeah, I'm really grateful for people like yourself who come to the other side and take the time to share your story. So on that note, why don't we dive into yours? Can you take us back to, how did this all start?
Ooh, it feels so, it's almost like another life now. And I was diagnosed with CFS ME after, I'd say, already 6 months of struggle. And apparently before that, I was very healthy, as many of us, living really active life. I had a full-time job in academia. And yes, exercising every day, and very active, very passionate person. There were a few ill health issues that started becoming worse and worse until finally I got a virus, like a flu virus and bronchitis, and then I never recovered from that. But now looking back, I saw that there were other things, like I had a miscarriage as well, and a kidney infection. So there were a few things paving the path to that final virus that after that I just didn't recover.
I'm realizing too, I skipped over. I know people always like to know where people are from and where they're from in the world.
I live in Nottingham in the UK, but I'm originally from Barcelona, Spain. But I've lived in the UK for 21 years now, which is a long time. That's where I am now, Nottingham.
Okay. So this is where you were living when your health problems really started to get significant. Yeah. So you were having some health problems, some things here and there, maybe not making any connection between them. And then it sounds like you got a virus, and is that what kicked things off for you?
Yes, definitely. I've got this flu virus. And then I just never recovered. And I thought, oh, okay, you've just got a virus. It's going to take a while. And it just didn't recover. I was getting worse and worse, really struggling with keeping up with my job, which was very demanding. I even went on holidays, and I went on a holiday and I thought, okay, that's what I need. After a week rest, I'll be absolutely fine. And I wasn't well at all. And I came back, I took a few days off. And one morning, very much out of the blue, I woke up and I couldn't walk anymore. Literally, I couldn't walk. My legs didn't hold the weight of my body. And I went to the doctors, and they gave me some sick leave, and then I stayed home for a while, and it didn't get well. At the time I was living by myself because my husband was working abroad, and he called me at night. Sometimes I didn't pick up because I just didn't even have the strength. And he kept asking, how are you? And I said, I'm just very tired. That's all I could say. I'm just very tired. And when he came back from work one day, he realized that in order to go downstairs from the bedroom, basically I had to sit and then just go down on my backside all the way down, because I couldn't. I was dragging to the kitchen, and only that I arrived to the kitchen shaking and feeling really awful. And then he looked at me. I thought, oh my goodness, what's wrong with you? You're really unwell. That carried on for a while. The doctor kept giving me a month off work, and And after a while, the doctor, well, and they did all the tests and everything to make sure to rule out any other issue. And then eventually they couldn't find anything. And then the doctor said, okay, why don't you just go to work? And I'm telling you that my symptoms were I couldn't even walk, I couldn't speak. I have serious cognitive issues, memory issues, but to the point that I couldn't have a conversation with anyone because if you told me something, by the time you finish your sentence, I didn't remember the first words. So it was just so horrible. I just couldn't work, and I remember crying and saying, "But I can't do it." And I am the first person who really want to go back to my job. I love my job. I want to be there. I don't want to be feeling like this. This is not like I'm being lazy. I don't want to work or anything like it. So she said, no, oh, why don't you try? Just try. You're well. You're fine. And I was thinking, well, something's not right here. Anyway, I went to work, and my head of department, when she saw me, physically just leaning on the walls and grabbing everything in order to keep myself up. And she said, well, this is not you. What's happening? And then I told her everything, and she called the doctor and said, I'm coming with you. I'm taking my uh, employee here. And then she said, I know Veronica. She is probably the most hardworking person in the department, and if she's in this state, she cannot work. This is something going on. I eventually had a second opinion, and this doctor told me that probably I had chronic fatigue, which I found very scary, but at the same time reassuring, thinking, okay, I have something. There is something. I'm not crazy, not like the other doctors just saying, oh, you can just go back to work. And then they referred me to a local hospital where they had a team that dealt with CFS and me. And they did all the questionnaires and everything. I went there, and then they said, yes, you are like a textbook case. So definitely you have CFS, and we have a program here that is about 8 weeks, I think, or something like that. And people learn to cope with it, and people get better and learn to cope. And all the hope that I had at the beginning, thinking, oh, okay, somebody's recognizing this, it's something real, it just completely went away because they told me that I would learn to cope. And I thought, I can't cope with this. I don't want to live like that. And then I told them, what I want is a cure. Anyone who's got well. Their answer was pretty much, if the sooner you accept that you're ill and that you'll be like this for the rest of your life, the easier will be to cope with the symptoms. And I was even told that probably I would need one of those disability scooters or a wheelchair, and that'd be fine. You'll be fine. So, well, this is not fine. I want a cure. And they said I was delusional, that I was on denial, and that was very, very upsetting. But I remember a question I asked them at the time, and I said, okay, can you, from the medical perspective, can you tell me exactly what's happening in my body? What's happening? What made me feel like this? You're telling me that this is a real condition, is a real illness. What's happening in my body? Oh, nobody knows. Okay, if nobody knows for real, nobody knows for sure, how do you know that I'm never going to recover from this? Same that my body's found a way into illness, my body's not going to find a way out of illness. So because you cannot guarantee that for as long as I can get hold of that hope, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to find a cure. I'm going to find it. And even saying that, I'm getting emotional now, Sometimes I feel that people want to help, but obviously they're not equipped with enough understanding. A lot of damage can be done, taking that hope away from people, and especially from something that nobody understands. Because if they do, what happens is something, your body's deteriorating or this, but they don't know. Therefore, how can they guarantee there's no cure? We haven't found it yet, but there might be. So I think taking hope away from people is one of the worst things that was done, and that was done to me. So that was the beginning of it.
There's just so much there. I'm so sorry you've had to go through all this. It just sounds like piling trauma on top of trauma. I mean, you're already going through something that I imagine must have been terrifying and confusing and like shocking, and then being told crazy things like to go back to work, and then instantly that you're never going to recover. And I interviewed someone recently who's talking about, there are a lot of great doctors out there, and I know they're only working with the knowledge that they have, but there is an arrogance to that, or a presumptuousness to it, to be that the person standing there saying, because I don't know the answer for you, because I don't know the cure, there is no cure. The medical community does not have all of the answers in it. To be telling people that, it's not like they have solid scientific evidence to back this up. They've done studies, and it's just, they just like, we don't know, therefore no cure exists, which is
Exactly.
a really, really horrible thing to be telling people.
I found it very shocking from the same medical institution to go from, okay, you're absolutely fine, everything is in your head, just go work. From there, you have nothing, to suddenly you have a chronic condition that will be with you for the rest of your life. So the same medical institution. So from nothing to that it's very disheartening.
Where do you think that determination in you came from, that to not accept that and to say, no, I'm going to find a cure?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think my husband always says that I'm a warrior, and that this is my attitude towards life. I say, okay, that's what's happening. Let's see what's the way out. What can I learn? And but do you know something interesting is, for me, there was the perfect balance, and I think this is very much needed. And I wonder if you felt a bit the same in your journey. There has to be a balance between going out to find a cure. I'm not giving up, but at the same time, a complete trust and a complete giving up in a way that today is the way it is. But it doesn't have to be forever. Yeah. So it's both, it's difficult to explain because it's both acceptance and never give up. Sometimes we can lean towards one or the other, but it's finding a combination of both.
I think that's key, because if you don't have acceptance for where you are in the illness, in the moment, it makes it very challenging to recover, because our nature is to want to push hard, and we're going to set ourselves back. So yeah, it's a tough thing. I think acceptance is tough, but you explained it well. Okay, so there you are. You've been given this CFS diagnosis, which seems to be completely useless. Everyone's telling you it's hopeless and that you should get a wheelchair and just learn to live with it. So what do you do from there?
Right then, they organized this 8-week course. And I was kind of forced to do it, because if I said I didn't feel very inspired after that, get a wheelchair, But I thought, okay. So part of me thought that I had to do it because I was working, I was on sick leave, and if I didn't do something like that, it would be as if I am refusing treatment and just not wanting to get well, and I thought it could have implications with my employment, and also this part of me that is always hopeful and try to be positive, and I was thinking, well, maybe there is something that I will learn from it, and I will meet other people, and that will be lovely, and I'm going to do it. But then the course didn't start. I think this was November 2013, and the course didn't start until February. And in the meantime, I remember first thing I did, I called my Ayurveda practitioner. And I had been introduced to Ayurveda a couple of years before that, and that's because I was in the middle. Well, actually, when I fell ill, as I said, I was working in the university, but also I was doing a master's degree, and also I was doing a yoga teacher training. All those things together. But through yoga, I had come across Ayurveda. I was very interested. I thought it was fascinating, and I met this amazing practitioner here in the UK. And the first thing, in my desperation of finding a cure and finding an alternative, I called her, and I said, crying, I remember. Oh, I've got CFS, what can I do now? My life is over and all that. And what she did said, don't worry, and she booked me in straight away in a Panchakarma treatment, Panchakarma retreat, which is a 7-day very intensive treatment. Well, actually the treatment altogether is 3 weeks. You do one at home, one there, and another one back home again. But even some of the things that normally people did at home, I couldn't do it because it involved some fasting and some things like that. And the practitioner wasn't sure I could take it because I was very, very weak. So that was my first stage, my first step for recovery. It was really fantastic. One of the symptoms I had as well that I didn't mention before was lots of pain. I was in constant pain, night and day. It wasn't a very horrible, I can't stand the pain, but it was constant and it was there all the time, and no matter what, it wouldn't go away. I couldn't get comfy. And on that, together with the weakness in my legs, and couldn't walk them, that was not very nice. It was quite of a struggle. And I arrived to the clinic, and after, and I remember my room was on the first floor, and my husband dropped me there, and he had to carry me upstairs to the room. And that treatment was really fantastic. After 3 days, the pain went away. So this is one symptom that Ayurveda and Panchakarma took completely away. The pain went away, and I could very slowly walk with no pain. That was amazing.
For people who aren't familiar, I mean, I've heard of Panchakarma, but maybe if you could just explain a little bit. So this is part of Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Indian medicine, correct? Okay, so what is this treatment exactly?
This is, I would summarize it like a very big detoxification, because as I learned later on when I studied more chronic fatigue anemia, something that happens in your body is actually a build-up of all sorts of toxins, chemicals, and even the chemicals that your own nervous system produces, because you're always in that fight or flight, and your body is running this biochemical marathon. And I heard this a lot, that people with chronic fatigue feels like they're constantly running a marathon, or as if they feel that way in the body. And actually I came across a study where it showed that the amounts of lactic acid in the muscles in people with ME were actually the same that people who had been running. So it is actually very real that happens. So that build up of chemicals and all sorts in the body, in my case, I think that's what created the pain. So Panchakarma was, first of all, let's flush all this out, let's flush all the toxins, let's detoxify your body, but then let's start working. Panchakarma is different for everyone, so it's very individualized, and everyone might need something different. But in my case, and probably other people, my nervous system needed regulation. So in Ayurveda, there are 3 what is called doshas, or constitutions, that involve biology, psychology, and it's like a very holistic way of seeing a human being. And it works with the theory of the elements. For example, what I had lots of what is called vata, which is lots of air and space, and pitta, fire, and I had an excess of that. I don't know if that will make sense if somebody's not familiar with that, but working with that for me was, in a nutshell, just really working with the nervous system, regulating the nervous system, and being very nourishing. So the treatment was, you would think that it's lovely, because it started with, every day I had a 2-hour massage, just specific massage to drain everything out, to work with my lymphatics, to work with my digestion, because Ayurveda believes that all health or ill health starts in the gut. So it was working with all that. But I was feeling so unwell, and I was so sore that even the fact of somebody putting a hand on me, even for a massage, as lovely as it sounds, it felt like torture. And there were other things like purges, so things that were not that nice, some sauna, some herbs, some all sorts of things. It was very intense, very intense. But it works because something that I believe back then, and the reason why I did it is I believe that my body has the ability to heal itself. And when you asked me before as well, what do you think it made you pursue this path? I think deep down I have this belief that my body can find a way to heal, even if I don't understand it. So all what I wanted to do is put my body, my mind, my whole being in a place where my body could do what it was supposed to do, which was healing. And I believe this Panchakarma treatment started me on that journey. It wasn't everything, but started me there and took all those toxins and just welcomed new tissue, new food, new... it was very soothing for the nervous system, and it gave me a complete break, and it gave me lots of hope. Also, Ayurveda works with the mind, and also works at more spiritual level as well. So you really question lots of things about your lifestyle, and really go deep into what's going on, not just these symptoms, but what's going on with you as a human being. And that was key for me to start getting better. No, if those who listen to this conversation have experienced chronic fatigue, is something very difficult to explain to those who never experienced that. But it feels like this fatigue or this illness, it feels like there is something poisoning your body. There is the feeling, a constant feeling. It's like a black hole pulling you in. And what I felt with the Panchakarma is that all that had been flushed out of my body. And I was very tired after the treatment, but tired in a nice way. You know, when you're tired and you can, I'm enjoying being tired, I can just chill, instead of I'm tired, I'm so uncomfortable, I don't know what to do with myself. And I say tired or exhausted, because there's no word in the dictionary to really define how I'm feeling. So that was for me the very first stage, and I carried on, and until now I still follow an Ayurvedic lifestyle. I do what is called the Dinacharya, which is daily routine. I take my herbs, and it wasn't everything, but it was the start, and it was a path that really agreed with me.
So much of what you and I had, different paths in a lot of ways, but so much of what you said really resonated. And I was thinking about how you said, that belief in your body's ability to heal is what kept you going. And I thought, you've really, really hit the nail on the head there. Because, how did those of us who didn't have recovery stories examples, where did that belief come from? And it got me thinking that for me, I had read so many stories of people coming back from, terminal cancer, all these different things, so many examples in the world of people's bodies being able to heal. And these stories and these books I was reading was not through miraculous treatments, but by supporting your own body's ability to heal and creating those conditions so that it could do that. So that makes a lot of sense. And you're not the first person I've interviewed who has found help with ME/CFS recovery through Ayurveda. I interviewed someone who was severely unwell and fully recovered through it. So it's just nice to see that it's helping with this. I'm curious for you, because some of this stuff can sound a bit out there, I think, especially when we've grown up in Western medicine, like, you have to look at your fire and your air or whatever it is. Were you just open and accepting to that right away, or was it a bit of a mind shift that you had to just be like, okay, let's see where this goes?
I was quite into it before. The way I felt that it was like, I looked back in life and it was as if somebody had left breadcrumbs. When some things feels very random in your life, I like that, I'm going to do that. And then at some point you think, thank goodness I did that in my life, or that came to me, and I keep picking it up. So I think Ayurveda, it made lots of sense for me, but also because I had learned that all this air and, space and fire and earth, and it's a very poetic way of speaking about something that makes lots of sense. Because if somebody says, okay, so this air and space, if there's space and there's movement with air, and that creates friction, and that's a bit of electricity, And that is your nervous system in your body. For example, the air is your breath. Who is not going to relate to that? The air is the breath, the nervous system is the communication in your body. And one of the symptoms I had as well is I felt like currents in my body, like it's always electricity going up and down. And I could relate to that vata. So this is the wind. This is it's a poetic way of speaking, but with the fire, and also maybe ambition and fire. I have lots of fire in my mind, as I'm a very passionate person. I always feel excited about everything. And probably, what my Ayurveda practitioner said at the time, she said, your mind is writing checks that your body cannot pay. And then, okay, so it was important to realize, it was the first step to connect with who I was. And who I was before that. It was a mind, and it was a head that had lots of opinions and ideas and disregarded the information and the wisdom that came from the body. And also something that I got from Ayurveda was that at the end of the day, you can use all this poetic language or not. Ayurveda is the art or the science to align yourself with nature, that all life is part of the same. And somehow that brought me lots of comfort, thinking I am not just an ill person by herself. It's the whole nature, the whole universe. It sounds a bit, hippie and all that, but I'm part of something that is striving for life. Life always fights for living, and I am part of that. And when I can't find the support and the hope, there is all this net of life around me that I can lean on. And that was very important. That was, even the philosophy of Ayurveda brought me so much hope, and actually opened my mind to find what really completely 100% made me well, which is a different therapy that I found later on. But in between, I did that course. Actually, everything that I had achieved with Ayurveda went backwards again and became very ill again while I was doing the course.
Okay, so we humans like numbers and percentages. So at the point where you were finding that you had experienced some recovery from Ayurveda, would you say, a third better, or I'm trying to get a sense of how much it helped in that time?
It's very difficult to give it a percentage, because also one of the things that I was told is that this process in your body will keep developing. Something I was told is not your cure is not something that we do to you. It's something you do to yourself, and you do, your body does, but also you need to support it with your lifestyle. And what I didn't know is that I thought, okay, supporting it with my lifestyle, it means that right now I need to accept that I don't have that much energy. Therefore, I need to calm down a little bit or do less. But then I found out later on that it wasn't about that. So in terms of percentage, I would say that straight after the Panchakarma, probably say I felt even 50%, as much as 50%, with probably a chance to keep improving if I hadn't done the medical treatment that made me really poorly again.
Okay, so you went into that medical treatment right after the Panchakarma treatment? What happened? What happened next?
I was amazed with Panchakarma and with Ayurveda, and I was so full of hope that was a matter of time that I would recover. That I remember going to Facebook, and I wrote something about Ayurveda, and I shared an article about the famous Ayurvedic doctor in the States, actually. And that was, sometimes I think, I don't know, universe is conspiring or something, or it's amazing how things work, or coincidences. Then this lady replied and wrote this comment. This lady, we had met when I was doing the yoga teacher training. We did the yoga teacher training together. She was much older. She was in her 60s when she did yoga teacher training. And she was amazing, doing all sorts of postures and full of energy. And she told me that she was some therapist. But when you go into the yoga world and everyone is kind of a therapist of some sorts. There's so many people doing all sorts of things, and that if it's nothing that affects you directly, you say, okay, yeah, a therapist, and you forget about it. And when I wrote that comment on Facebook, then this lady commented on my post, and she said, this is very interesting because Ayurveda's views are very similar to the therapy that I do, that I work with. And then, just out of politeness, I asked, can you remind me, what was it that you do? And then she says, I'm a practitioner of this therapy that cures, and she used that word, cures CFS, ME, fibromyalgia.
Wow.
And I can tell you, when we're talking about how important stories, I hadn't come across any story of anyone recovering. And this lady, when I asked her, and how come did you become this type of therapist? It's not something, when I was 5 years old, I thought I always wanted to be this, this obscure thing. And then she said, because I was ill with chronic fatigue for 19 years, I was bedbound for 19 years of my life. And the amount of loss that she had gone through, and because I knew that person, I knew that lady from doing the yoga teacher training, and I saw her energy, and I couldn't believe that she had been so ill for such a long time. And then I just went in full faith mode. I'm a type of person that I like to understand everything, want to research everything, but in that moment I gave that up, and I said, give me what you have, because you recovered after 19 years. I believe I can too, and why not? And then she explained it to me, and it was all about the connection as well between mind and body, nervous system, regulating nervous system, rewiring, and also the therapy itself. It wasn't just talking therapy, even though it was through talking, but it was more like an action therapy. There were some actions that you had to do, but those actions came from you as well. So the therapist just guided you to really find what you needed to do to heal. And that was it. We set up the first session. After the third session, I started having glimpses of normality, like little windows. So I was like, for the last 10 minutes, I didn't feel ill or something like that. I forgot. On session 7, I was completely the person I am now. And I get emotional just to remember that session, because it's one of the best things that have happened.
Do I remember reading that you said at that moment, around that moment when you were talking to her, something like, yes, back when I was ill and she caught you. It's like, listen to what you just said.
That was exactly it. And on session 7, one of the things that you do with this therapy is that you track your symptoms, you track your emotions. It's very much like using your emotions as well, not as inconvenient things that happen and you have to manage or balance or all these things, but using your emotions are messages of your body saying, there is something here that is not quite right, and there is something you need to do to regulate your nervous system, but not just regulate it, but also, it's a little bit like, okay, if there is a nail on a chair and I'm sitting there, I could train myself to meditate forever, and I am a big meditator, and I'm a yoga teacher myself, and so I love all these things, but I could meditate forever, and maybe at some point I wouldn't feel that nail that much, but why don't you just stand up and take the nail out? So for me, that was what this therapy was. And just noticing that your symptoms are not always the same, because you think, I'm always tired, I'm always this, I always have that. But when you start tracking, you notice that they fluctuate. And when you track absolutely everything that is happening around you, how you feel, who you've talked to, what activities have you done during the day, after a couple of weeks, you start gathering all that data, all that information, and you start finding patterns, and you start taking appropriate actions to deal with stress at the end of the day. And anyway, so after all this, in every session we would talk through the notes that I wrote, etc. And the last session, it was when I just said, how was your few weeks? I think it was like 2-week gap or 3-week gap since the last session. And I said, yes, it was well, da, da, da. And then I started a sentence saying, when I was ill and I wanted to carry on, and then she said, sorry, let me stop you there, let me interrupt you, and say, yeah, what's wrong? Can you say it again? And then I say, when I was ill. And then I just started crying. And even now, every time I remember that day, it's just that tears come up, because I can't explain the relief. I suddenly realized, wow, what does that mean? Does it mean I'm well? And then she said to me, I don't think you need me anymore. And then I started crying. I said, but this is impossible. This is really impossible, and I don't believe it. And she said, oh, believe it. Just keep going. Keep doing what you've done. And then she said, tell me something you've really missed and you would like to do. I said, well, I've missed hiking, and I'd like to climb a mountain. And I said it a bit like in a joke. That was a joke. Like, imagine after all this time climbing a mountain. And she said, go and do it. And I said, you're crazy. If I do it, after I've really earned my recovery, I'm so well, I have energy, I'm not feeling ill, I'm not going to ruin it. I'm not going to go. She says, no, you go and do it. Oh, but do I need to do the pacing and slowly? No, you just go and climb your mountain. And that's what I did. And actually, I need to find that picture somewhere. I have a picture on the top of the mountain, really worst face ever there after all this time of being ill, but with a big smile like this, and just thinking I did it. And on the way back, we were driving back with my husband, and I was rapping, and the worst rapper ever. But I was rapping, and I was so happy. And you know what? The day after, I thought, okay, payback. When is that going to come? It never came. And in April next year, it's going to be 8 years. It never came.
How long did it take to do those 7 sessions? How much time passed?
I started those sessions in end of February, and I was well by April.
Wow. That's just incredible.
It was incredible. It's really incredible. And then I had a follow-up in that dreadful hospital place. And I went back, you have to picture me before, when I went to those sessions in the hospital. I couldn't speak. I needed help to work. And when it was my time to share, I had a little voice like that. I really couldn't talk. Nobody knew my real voice. It was one of the most severe cases in that group. We were a group of maybe 10 or 12 people. And when I went for my follow-up in April, after I recovered and I climbed my mountain, and I arrived, and people looked at me and said, what's different about you? And did you go on a holiday? You look really good. And I spoke with my voice, and everyone was shocked. I said, I did this therapy, and this is amazing. This is amazing. And I just wanted to shout out in the world and say, hey, there is something you can do. And unfortunately, it was so sad. It was so sad, because I told all the medical staff, everyone there, listen, I've recovered. Please, investigate, research, do tests. Use me as a guinea pig. I'll help you as much as I can, but there is a way. And that can help so many people. And you know what they told me? Oh, probably either we've misdiagnosed you and you didn't really have chronic fatigue. Maybe we've misdiagnosed you, or maybe everything we did with you beforehand really helped you. So then on records, they've cured me. In reality, I got worse.
I'm not a violent person, but that kind of makes me want to hit someone. It's just...
I just need to share this, because there is a way out, and in such a short period of time. And I feel so fortunate, because I know people like yourself as well, and other people who've taken such a long time. I really feel blessed that I was guided to these 2 amazing people, my Ayurveda practitioner and this my Mind Body Reconnect therapist, and that it just worked. It worked so well for me, and in such a short period of time. And I feel blessed and so grateful. And the first thing I did, after that, just done amazing things, you know. And probably it's one of the questions as well you'll ask me. But I think I shared with you the Huffington Post article, and I felt that urge to tell the world, hey, there's hope, and in fact, after the article, I really got lots of people emailing me, sending me letters. Somehow somebody found my address and they sent me presents because people did the same steps that I did, and then they got well. And I had an email from somebody saying, I'm writing from India. All my life I wanted to do a yoga teacher training in India, and I never could because I was ill, and now I'm writing from here. After reading your article, I felt that there was a way and there was hope. And I just, for a while, my inbox was blocked of messages. And then I felt, because, when you start sharing your story, you think, oh, who cares? And, oh, okay, I'm fine. But seeing the effect that had in people, and the effect that it had for me to find this one person that I knew who had been ill for 19 years and recovered in 4 months with this therapy, that was everything for me. So yes, we need to share.
With your recovery happening so quickly in the years that followed, were you ever worried about it coming back, or did you just trust that you were good?
All the time worried, yeah. And that was, in fact, now I've started working, helping people with chronic fatigue. For a long time, I didn't even want to go near there. I didn't want to hear anything about it because I felt so scared that if I started thinking about it or remembering what it felt like, I would go back to be ill. And I'd say that this is something very common, the fear of symptoms that can in fact create symptoms because they create anxiety and they can create all this. But I had this deal with myself and thinking, this is only thoughts. These are thoughts, and I need to just very gently say, thank you very much. My beautiful nervous system, you want to keep me safe and you're warning me, but I know what I'm doing. I've got this. Thank you very much. And I had this little ritual that I still do all these years after that. Every morning when I wake up, the first thing what I do, I put my feet on the ground and I say thank you. And I think I'll do that forever because it's so difficult to explain, the gift of health. And every day I say thank you. And for a while I was thinking, okay, I opened my eyes in the morning and I thought, will I be ill again? Is that something that I had a little window of freedom? No, and yes, I wasn't ill. Never had a symptom. And then interesting because everything I did afterwards, and I started having these people with chronic fatigue and ME coming to me. Until at some point I thought, okay, I think I'm meant to help them because I received that gift. I can't just keep it for myself. I need to trust. And I think, after all these years, it's safe to say I am fine without fearing that I'm not.
So do you feel like you're the same person now as you were before you became unwell?
Wow, no, absolutely not. Yeah, my husband sometimes jokes and he says, "Oh, this is not a crazy person. Oh no, this crazy person is not the person I married." I said, "No, I am much better now, so much more fun." Because I think I had one of the things I recovered just with my health and my energy was this urge and this desire and that hunger to have fun and to do things that really bring me joy. Because when you don't have much energy, what you do is, okay, I have this little pot of energy. What do I need to do? What do I do with this? And normally you prioritize what's compulsory, you need to eat, and therefore you need to cook, you need to washing up, you need to work, and then there's nothing left for joy. So I totally prioritized joy after that. And this, I'm going to say something that might be a bit controversial. I don't know. When I was ill, lots of people were saying, oh, you learn so much by being ill, through pain, you learn so much, you become so strong. I felt like, as I said, I'm not aggressive person either, but I felt like punching people. I can tell you that even though because of chronic fatigue and ME, I've become the person I am, and I am really grateful for that, and I'm able to experience life in such a, depth and more fulfilled way. And even though that's the case, if you ask me, do you, what if you could just not have the chronic fatigue? I would say no, I don't want to have it, because it's something really dreadful to go through. And I believe that there are different ways to achieve knowledge and to grow as a person, and through the opposite, through happiness, through joy, through living. You don't need an illness to become somebody enlightened or anything like it. And I think there's a lot attached to that. However, because life is life, and everyone at some point in life, everyone, we're all thrown something at us. So of course, once things are there, you think, okay, how can I make this to grow? How can I use this to become closer to who I really am? And then you do. And I feel that that's what happened with me, with the chronic fatigue. It really helped me explore and go deeper and live as the person I want to be, know what I'm expected to be, know what society expects me to be, know what I should or shouldn't do, but more in touch with a life that makes sense for me. And I don't think, probably I wouldn't have got that without chronic fatigue. But as I say, and that's why I like to send this message as well about prevention, and start applying everything that we apply in order to get well. Why don't we start applying it before, and just making life even more, this opportunity of living in this body so thriving and fulfilling. And I'm a big advocate of that.
Unfortunately, for a lot of us, it seems that we do have to go through something like this to learn a lot of these lessons, because it's so easy just to get stuck in your life, kind of on survival mode, going to work, doing your routines, and until your life gets turned upside down. And we really get forced to learn a lot of this stuff. But yes, I believe you're right. We don't have to go through this hell to get there. And it would be great if we could learn these lessons in a preventative kind of way. But most of the people who are watching here, unfortunately, are facing chronic illness. Would you have any advice for them? Or, what would you say to people watching who are still in it?
Maybe a piece of advice that I could give everyone is to just cultivate hope. I think that is the number one thing that can get people through. Cultivate hope. Let go of beliefs. Even if you believe that you know why you got ill, or exactly what you need to do or you don't need to do, don't get stuck with that. Be open-minded and keep hope. And sometimes if you can't keep hope, because there were times where I didn't have hope, where I lost it, find somebody who can hold that hope for you, and tell that person, when I lose hope, because I will, can you please hold it for me? And that's what I would advise everyone.
And this all has changed how you live your life, obviously. So what do you do now for work that supports people who are facing conditions like this?
It was a long journey. Still, I went back to work in the university, but part-time, a couple of years, until I left. I left. I opened a yoga studio. I produced a documentary, lots of beautiful things, until one day I thought, right, okay, I've realized that was probably about a year and a half ago. All these years since I recovered, I haven't stopped learning and trying to understand what made me well, and trying to understand chronic fatigue, and studying, and I've just studied everything I could. And when there was a time that I felt a very strong call about, okay, I'm going to help people in this situation. That's what I'm doing now, and I've been doing it for the last year, just helping people with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. And I became a health coach and a Ayurveda health coach and health consultant. And I did a mind-body reconnect therapy training, as well as all sorts of different trainings in narrative therapy and trying to understand the psychology behind it, as well as the physicality of it. And this is what I'm doing now, is the same tools that I used to recover myself in such a short period of time, and giving them to people and coaching people through it, so they can I can guide them to find their own way, their own health, their own truth.
I think this is so incredible. I mean, until the medical community sort of catches up and finds ways to support the millions of people in the world who are facing this, it seems this is the way we're getting out of it. It's, each one of us figures out how to heal ourselves, and then we try and pay it forward. Like we're just trying to go back and take some hands of people that, not that we have the answers for everybody, but we can be there and provide support and listen and ideas and brainstorm and show options and possibilities. So yeah, I think it's amazing that you're doing this.
And I feel very, very strongly with it. I feel this is my life's work, and if I need to find, because after going through that hell, when you need to find some meaning, so there must be a reason why I had to go through that. And when I see now people recovering, is one, I can't describe it. It's one of the best feelings. And I cried with them on the last session, the same that I cried in my session. And it's one of the best gifts that I can share with people, but that people can give me as well. It's a huge satisfaction.
Yeah, it's very rewarding. I mean, I'm not doing work like you're doing, coaching and helping people, but I do get a lot of people writing me saying because of the channel, because of something they saw, they're recovered. And I think this might be my favorite thing in the entire world, getting these messages and getting these emails and reading about people who have gotten their life back, because we know the hell that it is. Like, we know the nightmare that you're stuck in, and how your quality of life can just be almost completely taken away. So to read about people who are back and just free again, it's just, I don't know if there's anything better.
Yeah, and in fact, it was one of my clients who recommended me to you. I think she emailed you, and that's why I'm here. So I'm very grateful to her.
I'm grateful to her as well. Yes. So many people are reaching out now to people watching. If you have a story to tell, there's a link in the video description to contact me if you'd like to be on the channel, because this is the way we got to find all of you out there, share these stories, get this information out there so that people know that people are recovering, and there are so many different options and ways to get there. So yes, where could people reach you, Veronica, if they wanted to learn more or follow you?
My new website, because I had to change a lot of things there. So my new website will be live soon. mindbodyreconnect.com. I'm on Instagram as well as lowest score mindbodyreconnect. And this is a very, very new account. I had my other yoga accounts and all sorts, and it's only very recently that I've started my Instagram account. So I'm hoping to populate it more and more.
Great. Yeah, and as always, these will be linked in the video description, so people watching, I highly encourage you to expand the description and check those out, because Veronica is just amazing. And also for people watching, if you've enjoyed this interview or found this helpful, I've got tons like this on my channel. I'll link up on the screen somewhere here a list of other full recovery stories just like this one. It's just so inspiring and so wonderful to hear. So thank you, Veronica. A million thanks for taking the time, not only to speak with me, but for all that you do to support people who are facing this. I think it's incredible.
Thank you, Raelan, and thank you again for this opportunity to be here and share my story, and for all the work you do, because that is the number one ingredient for recovery, hope and belief that your body knows what to do.
It's absolutely my honor to be able to share these stories, and the people watching, you're always so incredible. The comments that you leave and the messages that you send me are just amazing. So looking forward to hearing your thoughts and your comments on this one and keeping the conversation going. So yeah, that is it for today. Thank you again, Veronica. Thank you to everyone who is watching. Whatever you're facing, I know it can feel like you might be stuck there, like things are never going to change, and you get frustrated and you're trying so many different things and they don't work. But hang in there, keep going, one foot in front of the other, have some compassion with yourself, because what you're trying to do is incredibly hard. But so many people are finding their way out of this, and I truly believe that you can too. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.